No, I'm not.
All right. It looks like everybody's having fun. Anyway, my name's Paul Merka. I'm the publisher of paulmerka.blogspot.com. First of all, thank you for watching this latest video. And before I introduce our guest, if you enjoyed our previous videos, please don't forget to comment by clicking on the envelope at the end of the post or by leaving a comment on our YouTube page. Our conversation today is with a trio of outstanding photographers that I've been fortunate enough to meet over the years. First is Howard Lau from Portland, Oregon, whom many of you readers of the blog know as a contributor. Next on our panel is Alisha Lovrich out of Auckland, New Zealand. She does quite a bit of work for the New Zealand Athletics Federation, as well as other websites and publications in her country. And then finally, joining us from his home in Santa Monica, California, is Jeff Cohen, who's one of the top photographers in the sport. First of all, thanks for coming on today. Appreciate it. And so, Jeff, I'm going to start with you. Just tell the viewers a little bit about yourself.
Well, thanks for having me, Paul. This is fun. I kind of grew up on track. My father ran track. I was brought to track meets in my diapers. My first heroes were track athletes. So I kind of was born into it. I was also given a camera around 4 or 5 years old. Always been taking photographs. Growing up, I carried my camera to track meets, took pictures from the stands, got autographs, followed my heroes around. In 1984, in the Olympics in Los Angeles, it was one of my probably first moments where I really enjoyed and really loved taking track photography. Kind of snuck my way down to the aisle and took some really cool shots of Carl Lewis and Daley Thompson and Valerie Briscoe Hooks and Mary Decker and all those people. From then on, I kind of had my photography went into more fine art, documentary, cultural lifestyle, had some fine art shows around Los Angeles. But I've always been going to, my father and I have been going to world championships since 1983, since Helsinki. So I've been to a lot, many, and Olympic Games. I always shot photographs from the stands and came out with some really cool stuff that I loved, running all over the place, meeting my heroes. I eventually got credentials and made it down to the track and started meeting people and shot a bunch of world championships credentialed and other big meets, Diamond League meets in Europe. Made friends with athletes, been welcomed onto many tracks, training sessions, published magazines, newspapers, websites, shot some other sports as well, and here we are. I'm just doing what I love, and it's a gift. So thank you, everybody who's got me here. Like I say, I don't know how I got here. Every time I'm so thankful when I'm on the track and I get sprayed by an Olympic champion, the sand goes spraying in my face. Like I say, it's the best seat in the house.
Yeah. All right, Alisha, now tell us about yourself.
So opposite, really. I had no interest in photography as a kid. I was more into illustration and painting and all that as a kid, like ever since. So pretty much as soon as I was born, I was drawing, painting kind of stuff, and eventually obviously the drawings and stuff got better. I would go to like art schools when I was a kid, and then eventually I went to university, college, whatever you guys call it, and I did and I started my Bachelor of Graphic Design, and one section of that degree in first year, our core paper is photography. So you had to do it. I had to go buy a camera, so I did. And then I had been in athletics. I've been doing athletics ever since I was a kid as well. And so I started out as a runner. And that particular year when I got my camera, I was injured and decided to go to the track, take photos of my friends, put them on Facebook for my friends, and then suddenly people saw them. And it started off with like Auckland Athletics, which is like the closest thing we're going to get to a state. And they were like, hey, your stuff's really cool. You're more than welcome to go on the track. Like, we're letting you have pretty much this full credential for any track meet in Auckland. You're more than welcome to go out there and shoot and do as you please. It was unpaid, of course, but that was a really cool start. And then eventually from there, I got noticed from my federation. And here we go, which is awesome. And then, because obviously, like, we don't have an indoor season, so my work with my federation is very seasonal. And then apart from that, I do weddings, commercial work, events, image bank stuff, landscapes, kind of a whole bunch of things kind of keep me busy in between. So, yeah.
Right. All right. So, Howard, I've known you for a little bit, but go ahead and tell the folks about yourself.
Yeah, a little bit. It's like a decade now. So I ran track at the University of Washington, go Dogs, and I was an athlete for 5 years there. And I started similar to Alisha, where no one was taking photos. So I picked up a camera when I wasn't racing, and I started shooting. Mainly for my friends, mainly for the gram, the IG, for my friends, and to see how that's going to go. Yeah. I got noticed by some other athletes, so I started shooting for other schools, and then, of course, the University of Washington, Mike Bruskis and GoHuskies.com. They're like, hey, we could use a couple of the shots. So the shots went from IG and personal onto websites and publications. That was like 5 years ago, 2015. Right around that time, I finally learned, getting off of auto, learning, the exposure, ISO, aperture. I had a really tough time with aperture for some odd reason. I just couldn't understand aperture. But anyways, I taught myself, watched a lot of YouTube videos, read a lot of articles. And since I was already in Japan the summer of 2015, Paul gave me a great idea to say, hey, why don't you stop by the 2015 World Championships in Beijing? I was like, why not? And I was able to then also meet Jeff there for the first time. I always looked up to Jeff, and met him there, and he gave me some great tips. And since then it's been 5 years of shooting freelance. Recently I joined the Oregonian, a local newspaper here, as one of their freelance photographers. Shot multiple world championships, indoor, outdoor, meets all around here in town. Sports, athletics or track and field is my bread and butter, but I also do other sports as well. I love shooting football. I love shooting basketball. They're just so fun. So I think having the eye of a former athlete definitely gives me a unique perspective, because then we know what to look for. And now we're here doing a Zoom call. This is the new normal, as they call it, So Thank you for having me, Paul. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you, Paul.
Not a problem. I guess with everything pretty much going on at a standstill here in the U.S., this would be pretty much the equivalent of the spring collegiate track season, while the pros would be getting in what we call their first meets or their rust busters. I guess this question goes more for Jeff and Howard. How many meets did you guys have booked before this all went down?
Jeff, go ahead.
All of them. I definitely scheduled the big meets, at least the ones in the Diamond League, the pre in America and Oregon, the U.S. trials, the Olympics, of course.
Yeah.
As well as whatever else I could fit in my schedule. There's local meets. There's a Mount Sac relay. I was also planning to do some diamond leagues in Europe, and as well as other local events here.
Yeah.
And if I had an opening, I would do that as well. So, I mean, everything, but it was a big year, but tomorrow, next year's going to be bigger. So we're ready. We're excited.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that, you know, you and Alicia had credentials, are credentialed for the Olympics. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And then, well, Howard, let's go to you. You know, how many meets did you have?
More than I can count on my hands.
Yeah.
From the Pac-12 championships, of course, here in Eugene, which would be huge, pre-Olympic trials. Hopefully some Portland track events are still happening, but as of today, as of filming this, it's TBD. We really don't know yet. So if those go, then that's really everything. A lot of the local high school meets, like I said, you know, I'm a newspaper photographer as well, so they have me covering at the high school level here. Those meets are gone. In Washington, Oregon, those state meets are gone as well. Yeah, just more than I can count. It's disappointing for sure, but like Jeff said, next year is even going to be bigger. It's huge.
Yeah, yeah. Oops, I forgot. Oops, you know, I forgot to run this part, but you know, there's Alicia. There was Jeff earlier, and then you know there's Howard. You know, Howard happens to be racing the Olympic champion in the decathlon. So
Yeah.
I think, Howard, you would have been ahead if you wouldn't have hit that hurdle.
You know, that was the second hurdle. Okay, true story here. I was starstruck, of course. You know, I mean, it's Ashton Eaton here, you know, and I was like, you know, I got to beat him to at least the first hurdle. I got the first hurdle-ish on him, like maybe like half a step, and then he just left me. And I was like, okay, now it's cool.
Oh,
yeah,
He's amazing. A great guy, of course. You know, we took a picture afterwards as well, and yeah, excellent athlete.
Yeah, Ashton, just from knowing him a little bit, he's one of the most gracious, nicest guys out there.
Yeah. All right, so you know, I'm going with this shot that Alicia took. You know, how'd your involvement in the sport influence your desire to photograph track and field? You know, that.
Well, like being, same as Howard, like being an athlete for ages, that first time I took my camera to the track, I really started to notice how awesome it was to shoot track and field. There's just so much variety. You know, it's not just running, you've got field events, there's so many different angles and stuff that you can play with. When I first started, I was stuck outfield, never had a credential. So I had to just explore from out there. And then, of course, getting inside and seeing on the track, what can you do? What can you produce? And there's just, so the graphic design in me froths over track and field. There's so many lines. There's so, you know, horizontal, verticals, and like, yeah, it's just so much you can actually play with in terms of like composition, lighting, and everything. So yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah. Jeff or Howard?
You know, I think being a former athlete, you know, I know what looks good on me.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm on the down step, you know, if my face is all over the place, if I don't have good running form, you know, I don't want to see that photo. So I'm not going to make the athlete look bad. I mean, my goal when I shoot any kind of meets or anything is not to make the athletes look bad. I want to make sure they look good. They look athletic.
Yeah.
You know, going over the hurdles. I want to pick the best angle where they look athletic, they look fit, and they look strong. Because, you know I don't want to look bad, so I don't want them to look, you know, to look bad. And then at the end of the day, I don't want my photos of them looking bad to be associated with me. Like Howard takes bad photos of me. You know, that's not what I want.
Yeah.
So I think having an athletic background, I kind of know what to look for. And so when I shoot that, I time it correctly where I make sure they look good.
Yeah, I guess a follow-up question would be like, you know, what if, so this is a hypothetical. I mean, if you're shooting for a client, you know, what if, you know, they want, your client wants the shot that makes the athlete look bad? You know, how do you balance that?
No bueno.
I don't think like with the client asking
Yeah. I mean, particularly if it's news.
if
You
it's
know,
news.
like if it's a news story, since you know you're doing stuff for a newspaper.
I try not to put out bad photos. I don't think I put out bad photos.
Yeah.
I have thousands and thousands of photos of people winning or people doing stuff. And if it looks bad, I don't need to put it out there. It's not necessary. If they're winning the gold medal in the Olympics and it's the only photo I have, okay. Yeah. But otherwise, there's so many other times, another thousands that I can put out there.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm of course I'm capturing the moment, I'm documenting,
Right.
but it's really important for me is creating a beautiful image.
Uh-huh.
I like to go back to the first question about the question on the screen about my involvement in track, how did it influence my desire. So by me being a track my whole life and also being a photographer, I'd be running around the stadiums and shooting from the stands, which is amazing, which I still do today, which is sometimes you can get the better angle from the stands. You know, the field isn't, or around the track isn't always the best shot for me.
This is what I'm saying. Okay,
so, but I was up there, I was at the Olympics, I was at the World Championships. And, you know, back in the day when I started just really doing track, like 2011 or around that time, 2010.
Mm-hmm.
And this was like the beginning of the Instagram and the social media per se. And to all the track photos that you saw, even in the programs or wherever you can find them, were basically the same shots. They were like, there were some bad shots of people or they were crossing the finish line. Yeah. And I'd be at these meets and I'd be taking my shots with my eye that I liked. And I'd be at the Olympics and the World Championships and seeing the photographers. Yeah. And I'd look at them and say, why are they all over here?
At the finish line?
Why are they all at the finish line? I want to see what's going on with the athlete warming up or tying his shoe or the athlete thinking about something or doing something else. This is the sport. And I always I'm like, I want the guy to go over there. He's missing the shot. But, you know, as I learned through doing this, a lot of them are told what to do. They have to take a certain shot. There are shots that are supposed to, you know, the newspapers, they want the emotion, they want the finish. That's what sells. So they're being told to do that. But I understand. But I always wanted to see so much more of the sport. Like I call it like the essence. Yeah. What's going on all around it. They're walking out, they're coming down, they're just other stuff. So that's what kind of drew me into it, is that I could do that. I'm going to get that shot. So I started doing that kind of stuff on my own vision, and I started putting on social media, and people caught on, and people followed me, and I eventually got the credentials for it, creating my own eye and my own vision of like the behind the scenes, other shots, the emotion, looking like right into the athlete, what they're kind of feeling, what, you know, not just coming across the finish line or falling on their face. Yeah. So that's kind of drew me to become a track photographer, because I saw people doing it, and I wanted to see other kind of pictures. Like, I'm going to take those pictures. Yeah.
So. You've certainly found a a niche that basically like the wire service, the news photographers don't shoot.
And now there are a lot of, I see the style of the track photography has changed a lot in the last 7-8 years with that. There are more photographers out there and young photographers doing that. They're shooting more of the other stuff around, the close-ups, the emotion, the feelings. And, you know, I love that. It's really cool.
Yeah. All right. So when you go, as the next slide says, what's in the bag? Howard, I'll start with you. What's in the bag when you go to a meet?
Okay, go to a meet here. So 1DX is my main body, Mark II. Canon. And then I have another 7D Mark II, and I have 2 of those. One is for a remote. Depending on if I want to set up the remote, of course. I use a 1635 f2 a 70 to 200, and
Uh-huh.
then a 300 prime. I love the 300 prime. That is my basic setup for track meet.
All right. Alisha, what about you?
So I don't own a 1DX, Canon kid, but probably one of the only sports photographers who doesn't actually have one.
Yeah.
But other than that, I have a 5D Mark IV, I have a 5D Mark III, and I have a 7D Mark II. And generally, the general combo I will use is, I'll say this is probably the most common combo, is I will have my 5D4 on my 70 to 200 2.8. I actually have it here. This is my most used. If I'm in field with all the domestic stuff I have, that's probably my most used combo is the 5D4 and 70 to 200. On my 5D3, I have my 300 prime. I just love like the bokeh on my 5D3, and it's a bit slower, but I work with it. The 5D3 was my first professional grade camera, so I'm kind of used to that. And then on my 7D, I put my 24-70. Sometimes I will use this as a remote, depending if I want to set that up, and I quite like it because the 7D's 10 frames a second, none of my other bodies are, and so when you're shoving it in a cage or on the ground under a mat, you're not looking at it, so you want to get all those frames just to kind of get the right shot in there. And sometimes I'll flip the 7D and 5D around because I find when it's really good light, the 300 prime is 2.8, it's beautiful, and with the 7D too, you get that little bit of reach and that high frame rate. And if I got my ISO at, I feel like max like 400. it's amazing. It's amazing on there. Otherwise, I do use a 1.4 converter sometimes. I've actually got it set up now because I've been chasing bears in my backyard. I've been using my 5D4, but I've got a 1.4 converter on there. And normally when I'm chasing bears, I use my 5D4. So I've been doing that in my backyard. And that's it.
Awesome. All right, Jeff, what about you?
Well, let's see what I've learned from years of doing this. When I go out, I switch it up, but basically if I'm doing a large meet and you can't have all your gear with you, you have to choose, obviously. Right. My main cameras are D5s. I carry 2 D5s around my neck. And my go-to lenses, if I was only to have 2 lenses, would be a 24-70 2.8 and a 70 to 200 2.8. Yeah. I also sometimes when I'm using a remote, I have my older Nikon D4S, and I use that for steeplechase, finish line, the jumper's pit, whatever, for remote style. Right. Usually I do a 17 to 35 2.8. Sometimes I put a fisheye, a 16 millimeter 2.8 on there. Yeah. I also have a belt. I wear a gear belt, where I have a little pouch. I have my cell phone. I have a pen. I have some little snacks. I have a 14 to 24 2.8 in my belt, which I rarely use, but I have it if it's necessary. And I do put my 16 millimeter 2.8 fisheye in there as well, which I use more often. I also have a 1.4 teleconverter to put on my 7200. And sometimes if I feel like it, I pull out my 300 2.8, which is actually an absolutely beautiful lens. I tend not to like larger lenses because they're heavy. I like for my style, I like to be close to the action and more of a wide angle. For me, I like the feeling of a wide angle lens. It brings the viewer into the image, and it's more of a connection with the viewer and the feeling like you're there. Right. So I like that. I like being close. Right. I don't like standing far away with a large lens. I have done great shots, and sometimes I do go up in the stands with a large lens, but it's rare. Right. And you know what? One thing I learned: knee pads. Yeah. I always have one knee pad on. I'm kneeling up and down so much. After burning my knee and cutting my knees getting red and sore for so many times, knee pads.
Yeah.
I mean, you may feel stupid at first, but you know what? They save you. And other people, and all the other photographers say, hey, where did you get that? That's a good idea. I mean, a lot of them use them.
I was one of them, yeah.
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 Exactly. So knee pads are key for me. Up and down on my one knee.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So obviously, Jeff, you've answered this question, and I think Alicia has hinted at it. So I guess Howard, what's your go-to lens?
70 to 200 right here. 70 to 200. It covers everything where you need it to. The 300, it's beautiful. I love it, but to cover a meet, it's just too tight. It's just too tight. And that's just the reality of it. It's too tight. Great lens, too tight.
Yeah.
So having the 70-200, being able to go back and forth, if they're coming through the finish line, they just don't stop at the finish line, right? They're going to come through around that bend. And that's where I like to snap the shots.
Yeah.
70-200, 2.8, version 2 is fine. I know the version 3 came out. The version 2 is mine. It's totally fine. That's my go-to lens.
Yeah. All righty. All right. So, the next couple slides, these are going to be questions are going to be aimed primarily, for, Howard and Jeff. Obviously this is not a track and field photo, but this is Chris Paul, the Oklahoma City Thunder, and then you see Carmelo Anthony of the Portland Trailblazers. First of all, how'd you get that shot? Because don't they usually check you when you go into an arena?
Right. So you have to definitely get lucky. I think at the end of the day, you have to be nice. I try to bring my camera. If they say no, I mean, that's it. No, I'm not going to, throw a fit or anything. They're just doing their job. But oftentimes they have been very nice. They just let me through. And, just be nice. Look, they're trying to do their job. The security people are trying to do their job. Don't be mean to them, okay? Like, don't throw a fit that you brought your camera, because it's your choice to bring the camera. You have to understand that if you bring your camera and they don't let you in, that's it. You throwing a fit's not going to help. So don't be a jerk. So I got very lucky that they just let me pass. So, oh, yeah, cool camera, too. And so they let me in. And then especially for this shot in particular, I got really lucky because the strobe fired from the official photographers. So you can see there's some shadows off of the Portland Trailblazer people right there. There's a strobe that fired, and I just got so lucky that I clicked at the same time. So they lit up my shot for me. So that's how I got it. Just being lucky and be nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Just out of curiosity, for those who are going to someone's going to be bound to ask this, but where were you seated?
Where was I sitting for this one?
Yeah.
This is level 200, the last row in level 200. So like literally the box seats are like at the back of my head where I could like high five the person in the box seat. So it's very, very high up. And I was shooting this on a 7D Mark II with a 70-200. So because the 7D gives you, because it's a crop sensor, it gives you an extra reach, like Alicia said. And then the 70-200, I was able to go back and forth. So I think I shot this around the 200 millimeter mark, fully extended out. I think I shot this at like f4, so everything is in focus. And then, like I said, that strobe firing really, lit up everything really nicely. So it's not grainy, because the indoor stadium is terrible.
Yeah, yeah. And then, here's another shot of yours from the World Championships in Beijing. Was that case of being nice?
Yes, be nice. So be nice. This one was at the front row. I got very lucky that it was a very long roller coaster of a day. My tickets, they didn't work. So the door person was like, you know what, come with me. And they escorted me all the way down to where the volunteers were sitting, which is the front row, about 75-ish meters to go from the 200 mark, right there in the front row. So I sat with the volunteers technically, and I shot this one on a Canon Rebel and a kit lens, a 55-250 kit lens. And this is again, simple, costing like $100.
Howard frozen.
No, it's
He's back.
He's
yeah,
back.
it's like a it's a really simple setup. But yeah, shot this Canon Rebel.
Right. Okay.
I have this camera as well.
The Rebel, man.
All
Yeah.
right. So this was Jeff. Man, this shot that you took of Allison. If I recall, you were not credentialed for this.
No.
I mean, just looking at Allison. I mean, it looks like she is looking directly at you. I mean, talk a little bit about the shot.
So yeah, obviously London Olympics.
Yeah.
I didn't have credentials. Through years and years and years of me learning the ropes of Olympics and World Championships and going up and down aisles and running all over the place with my camera. Sometimes I held my 7200 up and just held it up in the air, and they saw it, and the ushers just said, "Oh, he was professional. He can go down." Other ones stopped me. Other ones I just wait till they looked the other way and I'd go down there. So I was on the rail. She was coming around. I knew Allison a little bit from before this. I trained at where she trained in Los Angeles. So we had a little relationship, but she was coming around, and I was right there in the front row, leaning over, called out her name. She looked at me and smiled, and there you have it.
Yeah. This is that's an awesome photo. And then I know we talked about this earlier.
Hey.
Year-old Jeff Cohen, ladies and gentlemen.
So we go back. This is Los Angeles 1984 Olympics, LA Coliseum. I think it's 80,000 people or something.
Yeah.
I was 13 years old. I had my dad's Nikon FA with a 24-105 film camera. So I think I was shooting slides. Actually, no, it's film. I just found this today. Yesterday. Here is the negatives of that shot.
Oh.
So I just happened to I found it in a folder yesterday. So the story with this was I was just running all over the place, taking pictures, seeing all my heroes. I think my dad we had seats on the other side of the stadium.
Uh-huh.
So I said, okay, I'm going to go around like I always did. I'm going to go try to get some shots. He's like, okay. He was like, go for it. So I went down there. I made the 100-meter final was coming up. This is Carl Lewis winning the gold medal, his first ever Olympic gold medal.
Uh-huh.
So I made friends with the usher at the top of the stairs on that aisle at the finish line. And I remember the guy, he had long hair and a hat on, his 80s colored usher hats they were wearing, and a mustache. And I had my camera, a 13-year-old kid, and he said, hey, come on. It was the finals. He said, hey, come down with me. He walked me down and sat with me at the rail at the bottom of the stairs, which allowed me to snap this shot.
Uh-huh.
So, and this moment stands out for me in one of the greatest pictures of my life because of that moment and me getting down there and the whole circumstances.
Yeah.
I've in the last 5 or 6 years I met Carl Lewis. I met him a couple times, but in my professional adult life I've spoke with him a bunch of times on the track now, and I've told him about this story, and that was really fun for me to do that as well.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, has Carl seen this shot?
Yeah, I sent it to him.
Oh, cool.
And there's Ben Johnson looking at him. See that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ben Johnson, and then on the inside in lane 1 is Ron Brown, who ended up playing football for the LA Rams, and then right.
Was it Grady or Smith or Grady or somebody over there?
Yeah, looks like that's Sam Grady.
Yeah.
I think Calvin Smith, if I recall.
200 maybe.
Yeah. Yes. That's right. So
See, I think we spoke about this before, Paul, but I'm not a stat guy. I
Yeah.
never studied track. I just go to track meets. I don't remember times per se so much, but I know faces.
Yeah.
And I remember watching my heroes and watching the athletes and like having a favorite and like just feeling the excitement of them wanting them to win or go over the bar or what have you. So
right.
that's what it is for me. As I'm a huge fan.
Yeah.
But I mean, stats and that kind of stuff, that's, my dad does that. I'm just a fan, and I love that emotion and the feeling, and I like feel I'm connected with the athletes. So
absolutely. And then, before we go to, start talking about everybody's shots, I thought I'd bring this slide out. I mean, there it is. It's the iconic photo of Bob Beamon at the 1968 Olympics, shot by Tony Duffy. And, the reason why I bring this up is that Tony Duffy didn't have credentials in 68. So as you guys have shown, and as Tony Duffy has shown, sometimes you don't need credentials. And, I've always thought that, in photography, it's not about having the best camera. It's what you can do with the camera. It's not about the camera. It's about the operator. And I'm sure that.
Yeah. People always ask me, oh, what do you use? What should I get? This and that. You can take great pictures with your iPhone, but it's what you can afford. You don't need to have those huge lenses. You don't have to have the best camera. It depends what you want to shoot. It helps to have a faster camera that it's able to stop action, but you don't necessarily need that. This shot was taken back in the day. It was manual focus, black and white film, 1968. So there are no rules. Sometimes during meets when I feel like it, I pull out a fixed lens, like a 50-2.8, and you have to move to make the shot, and I still get great shots. So it's not the equipment that you have, it's how you use it and how you have to move your feet and what you can do with it.
Right. Yeah. And all right. So now I'm going to let you guys talk about your shots. Alisha, this is,
Yeah.
you can see the slide. It says, I'm going to shut up. And
Alisha,
this is
Alisha,
your time to shine.
Alisha, did you cut that pole a little bit for the shot before?
This is actually the luckiest shot of my life. But I like to have an idea of what I'm going to capture before I do, to a point. But this here, what I like to do in the warm-up, I've got a 24-70 and my 7D2. And I like to get some takeoff shots because you kind of can't tell if it's in a comp or not. And like, it's one of the shots I really like, and I can, a shot from like closer. So I think I was at maybe 35 mil or something. So I like to, to get that sense like Jeff was talking about, being right close to the action. I remember the shot before, I didn't like the takeoff just as much. So I stayed for the next jump. That happened. And so I'm really close to that. And I don't know if any of you been near where in a pole breaks, they barely break as well. So that was, it's a rare thing. And when you're that close, holy, it's like a massive, just like bang, like in your ear. I didn't even like look at it straight away.
How many times have you been hit by a pole coming down while shooting pole vault?
Never. Because, I'm a pole vaulter now, so I know where they land, and I know where never to sit because of the pole. And I kind of like, you can kind of read it a little bit, so I know like where the poles are going to fall necessarily, and how the athlete pushes off the pole helps. And I kind of just purposely try to avoid it. as much as I can because A, they hurt. They're very expensive and fragile. If you so this is carbon composite pole. They're more fragile than the fiberglass ones. If that hit your lens hood, it's going to break, or a very high chance of breaking the next jump. So with my remotes and everything, I make sure that it will never be hit by the pole.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's another thing, like being an athlete and understanding, and like I'm there for the athletes. You know, I'm not going to sit in a position that's going to hinder the athlete. Like,
Yeah.
Right.
you know, I'll move. There's been a shot, but I shot this photo and I didn't even look at it. I was like, Eliza's my friend. I was like, you know, like making sure that she's okay. And I remember she looks at me and she goes, I hope you got that. And like, this warm up. And I was like, yeah, I'm not showing you until you're done.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I let her finish. And then I showed her.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I
All
like
right.
this. I like the smoke and stuff, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
biggest
Yeah.
fluke of my life.
All righty. All right. So, Jeff, this is, this one really shows us some emotion. Talk about this shot, Jeff.
So yeah, this is Olympic trials, I believe, right? Yeah.
Yes.
This is Anika McPherson.
Yep.
Our one of our Olympic high jumpers.
Yeah.
She is, by the way, 5'4".
Yeah.
Whenever our competitors are mostly 6 feet and over, which is amazing. So I was sitting right by the side of the bag, and with a wide angle lens, probably even 24-70. Might have been in my 12-24. I don't remember the moment. I was the only one out there, of course. Whenever I'm out there, I always ask the officials if it's okay if I can be there. There's TV, there's officials, there are cameras from USATF, there's all kinds of stuff. I always ask beforehand and tell them what I'm going to do, and I'm not going to move. I also check behind me, because behind me, there are 10 photographers on the rail with their big lenses capturing the shot as well.
Right.
So I look over and I ask them, am I okay right here? And I signal to them, and they say, yeah, yes. And then I stay there, and I'm not going to jump up and move. So that's very important, that whenever you go and set up a shot and you run somewhere to get that shot, you look over your shoulder and be aware that you're not getting in some other photographer's shot.
Yeah.
And always ask permission to the officials. If they say no, fine. You say, fine, thank you, and you move away. You know, it's like I've missed hundreds of amazing shots, but because of that. But I asked permission, and there's always going to be another one. Okay. So with this shot, I was waiting right at the bag, looking up. I kind of knew that she turned this way a lot and celebrated sometimes when she made the bar. So this was a third attempt, I believe. She made the bar. I think she knew she got third place and made the Olympic team. I think so. And I was just right there, and I happened to capture it. Now, I knew the sun was behind her.
Yeah.
And if I would have, again, this is, you have to know your camera settings. I overexposed it, probably a stop, so I could get her expression on her face. If I was exposing just for the scene, then she would have been all dark, like the background underneath the Hayward, the stands.
Right.
So it's all, every time you're looking around, every time I look around for shots, if it's backlit or front lit, you always have to adjust, because otherwise, you want to see that expression, and I just happened to capture it. And I believe I usually shoot action and stuff like this at around 1,000th per second.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So
all righty.
there you go.
All right.
Yeah, I love
All
that.
right. Alicia, this is a shot of Mondo Duplantis at the World Championships.
Yeah, so this one, it was funny. So this must have been it was between him and Sam.
Uh-huh.
And like similar, know your settings and everything, because when the athlete comes to the stand, so in Doha, as you guys will know, it was quite like the way the lighting was when they were at this right at the rim, it was quite backlit.
Uh-huh.
So I have to bump it up a bit. So I know when the athlete jumps on the mat, and runs out, I actually just tap my dial, just a dial, and then just move it a stop. And then this shot here, what I like to do when I'm shooting kind of the big heights in pole vault, just like, because I love the emotion, I love, you know, the expression, the triumph, and, you know, I will pay attention to how everyone celebrates, similar to Jeff as well, how everyone celebrates and stuff. And then another thing I do, so a lot of time coaches are sitting where they take off, like adjacent to that spot. And so you kind of know to look up there and see where are they, or where are the supporters and stuff. So you know where they're going to run out that way and celebrate. And I was shooting on a 300 prime. It gave me a little more flexibility for the actual jump itself. It means I could get a takeoff shot with a nice bend, and then I can also get the invert when I actually get over the bar and coming down like Martha Croft a bit when they're on the mat. But this frame is maxed. So when he ran out to the stand, all the guys around me who had 400s missed this.
Yeah.
So it was just like perfect. And
Yeah.
I just love like the expression. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. Now, Howard, yes, Jeremy Taiwo, who's a friend of ours, in the decathlon high jump at the trials. Talk to us about this one.
Yeah, so I was credentialed for the trials here, but I chose to go up into the stands for a cleaner background. So the full frame of this can be found on my website, but the whole background is of the track. So I wanted to get rid of the officials, any other high jumpers, any equipment, any kind of shoes, bags, whatever. I wanted to have it clean. So I went all the way up to the temporary stands that they had set up with a 70 Mark II, 70-200, and then a 2x extender. And I wanted to also get the Olympic rings as well on the mat. So I framed it up correctly. He had a huge jump in the high jump here. And again, I knew he was going to land on the opposite side of the crest there. So I just lined up the crest, the bar, and have him there. And then he just yelled out and screamed, captured a great moment of that. It's a very clean looking photo. There's not any kind of distractions in the background. And again, it goes back to, you know, you can get this shot in the stands. I was sitting next to a lot of people, next to fans. As long as I didn't get in their way, you know, it's good.
Right. All right. So now,
so one important thing that I learned from that I'm hearing about all of those 3 photographs that we spoke.
Yeah.
It is huge in sports photography. Is predicting the future.
Yeah.
From the knowledge you have of the sport, setting up a shot of where you think the athlete's going to be, where you think is going to happen, and you set it up and hope they're going to be there. And sometimes it works out.
Yeah. And what a segue into this photo, because you know, when I was going through the editing for the slideshow here, Jeff, I mean, this one jumps out because you see you know, Courtney and Colleen, and then you see Emma and Shalala. You know, Shalala was on the 2012 Olympic team, and you can see the disappointment in the moment. Talk about this shot.
So yeah, I don't know if she got. Wait, I think Shalala. I don't know what place she got, but I don't know if Stephanie got 4th, Garcia, or she did. I forget. Yeah. But I was at the finish line on the infield.
Yeah.
And I love these kind of shots. I've got a couple of them like this. When it all works out, it's beautiful when they face me. I was right on the rail, right on the grass at Hayward Field.
Yeah.
They finished. It was Emma, Courtney, and then Colleen. And this is their first Olympics? All of them?
Yes, for Courtney and Colleen.
Yeah. And Emma was in London. That's right.
Yeah.
So these were kind of, they, couldn't believe it. They made the team. You have Shalala, who's a veteran in there, who didn't make the team. There's Emma, her good friend, and from Colorado, consoling her. And Emma won the whole thing. And then you have the disbelief and the emotion of just, it's relief. And that you see on these Courtney and Colleen's face. And it was amazing. I remember shooting this. It was just, it just looked like a classic Rembrandt or Michelangelo, like a painting. There was so much going on and the bodies all lined up. Like, this isn't the full image, but you can see what's going on. But there were people lined up over here, and you have the triangle here and other little people in the back. And it was it's one of my favorite photographs.
Right.
The emotion, the essence of the sport.
Yeah.
What I look for with a wide angle lens. I was a couple feet away from him.
Yeah. Wow.
And I lowered down on my knee, and so I get a better angle, so I could be there right with him and bring the view, or bring you, so you could feel it as much as I was.
Right. All right. So Howard, this is Jenny Simpson in London at the World Championships. Talk to us a little bit about this one.
Yeah, so Canon is in Nikon. They are at these big meets. They let you borrow lenses. So this one was shot with a 2.4, 200 to 400. One of the best sports lenses out there. If I could afford one, I would, but it's like 10,000, I think, or something like that. So 10,000 USD. Can't afford that, but it's a great lens. I talked about this in a little early on, where they come off of the finish line, they keep on running past, and then they ran past. She grabbed the flag and then turned, and there was a bunch of photographers in front of us and all that, and she just screamed out. And again, it was shot where it was very clean. There wasn't anybody in the background. Got the motion, got the American flag, which was great. And it's one of the I like cleaner shots. I pick very clean backgrounds is what I look for when I set up a shot. It's always about a clean background. If I can, as clean as possible. I don't want anything sticking out of the back of their head or distracting colors or anything like that. So I look for a clean background, and I found that there was a speaker box. You can see on the right side, there's like a speaker box there, and I was able to position myself. So all the shots I was getting that night, I don't get the speakers box, because you cannot Photoshop. It's a no-no. You cannot Photoshop anything out or remove objects from the image from a journalistic side, ethical.
Right.
You can't do that. So
right.
You can move yourself so you don't get that, but after you take the shot, you cannot Photoshop anything out.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And now I'm going to go back to you. This was a very iconic shot from the Portland 5000. Talk a little bit about this one, Howard.
Yeah, beautiful shot. I worked really hard for this one. So Portland Track had a pop-up event at the Nike campus on the Michael Johnson track. It was with the Bowerman guys. They're trying to go get the Olympic standard. It was an amazing shot. I, again, wanted an idea of what I wanted to shoot. So I wanted a wide shot. So I shot this on a 1635. The background is completely pitch black, because at the Nike track, there is a forest in the middle of the track. There's an actual forest. So it's surrounded in the woods. So I knew I wanted to get the essence of darkness, because it was lit by like street lights. The formation and tempo that they were running at was amazing. So they were in perfect sync, perfect stride. This was the last attempt that I had before I moved away. So I spend about, because it was the 5,000, I had multiple times, but I would invest maybe 3 or 4 attempts at a shot before I call it and try a different angle. So I knew they were coming in. I wanted a flat, perfect, all the lines. You can see the track lines going through the tree. Yeah. Alicia knows. And then the runner perfectly, their heads are the same, their arms are the same, the legs are the same. Everything was, in sync. I captured it. It makes for a beautiful print. I think if I move my head, it's like right there. It makes for a beautiful print. It's art. And again, I look for a clean background. I look for a shot that can be like printed, like artwork, where it's iconic. And this shot has done really well. I'm really happy.
Yeah. All
Yeah, I
right.
love this one, man.
Yeah. All right. So now we go, Alicia, this is, I saw the notes. It looks like you were just kind of messing around with this.
Yeah. So as Howard said about the clean backgrounds, Doha was a struggle to find those clean backgrounds. This was in one of the heats, and so I thought maybe I will do a pan to try blur out some of that background, and then maybe make it black and white to distract from those colors, and time as they're jumping over the hurdle. I took quite a few attempts, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Just because, obviously running is linear. Hurdle, you've got a little bump in there. So trying to get the athletes, time the athlete's motion with my pan was like a really good challenge. And okay, those balls that's the camera, the most distracting thing. Yeah. So to get this, I actually went higher. So there's a bit where you could sit right there. I think I went higher up so the balls wasn't in line with the hurdle, if that makes sense. So I might be in first row of the stand, just so I could try to get something a little bit clean and bit different and stuff. Yeah.
A
lot of practice, a lot of warm-up practice.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, now Jeff, there's our friend Ashton Eaton, the guy that beat Howard in that hurdles race.
This right here. This is a fun moment in my track memories. This was in Portland World Championships indoors. I think this was the first time I really met Ashton. They had the decathlon. There were a morning session and an afternoon session, and the morning session on this day was just the decathlon. So I went out there, and place was pretty empty, and it was just the decathlon going on. And I introduced myself, and he's like, "Oh yeah, hey, I know you. I always want to meet you, this and that." So this is the first time we met. So then anyway, he was doing his 5 events that day, or 3 events in the morning, or whatever it was, I forget. Yeah. And I kind of just walked out there, and he was doing the pole vault, and the lighting was interesting. Yeah. And I metered for his face there, and he's chalking himself up. He's chalking his hands, that little chalk bowl right there, that circle, and his pole's leaning against it, and you can see the dust from the chalk flowing around his head, and you have the halo from the lights around it. Yeah. And it looked like kind of like a modeling shot. I was kind of tripping on it when I stopped, but I was excited. You see that? You can see the halo all around his body.
Yeah, it's a halo. Yeah.
Yeah, it's his chalk, and that's the lighting from the arena. I have no flash. You're not allowed to have flash out there for any of it. So I was pretty. It was pretty cool to see this.
Yeah.
So that shadow, behind him, that's made from the stadium light.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
maybe cool. There's light bouncing off of somewhere, and there's the shadow off his head on the back of the chalk. Yeah, I didn't. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. All right, now Alicia, this is another shot of Marcel Uibo from Estonia in the decathlon long jump. I assume you went up into the stands for this one? Yeah.
So at this time in Doha, we're quite lucky. There wasn't a lot of, as you said, there wasn't a lot of people. So you kind of had a bit of a field day of where to sit. So this one here, I saw, this was in the decathlon, there were 2 long jump hits. He was in the one closest, so you could get right on top. Maybe halfway up I went. Had a 7200, looked down to make sure, or maybe I was somewhere in the stands. I kind of like, I went in the seat, looked, nah, don't like that. Changed, looked, literally. I told one of the guys that's what I was doing. And all you see is just photographer going up, like up the seats. And there was a whole bunch that was empty. So I don't want to stand in front of people who are watching it, you know, people who are enjoying it. So I was lucky there was no one in that row. And I had a 7200 on, and all I can see in my frame is the pit. So I got one eye, like, are they coming? And I just, you know, I shot maybe 1,000th of a second, and I just kind of saw it, and I just kept going like this. And this was the only one that actually worked.
Right.
So like Howard, like clean background. So I was like, well, I want to try find a nice clean background, and
Yeah. All right. So, you know, Howard, you know, this is from the London World Championships. Just some thoughts on this one?
Yeah, this was my first attempt at a remote. So I got a 1022 on a 70 Mark II. Shout out to Alisha. She came out with me in London because when you set up a remote, you make it into a manual focus instead of autofocus. So you need someone to stand in place for you to set the focus point. So Alisha was kind enough to walk out with me hours before the competition to set my focus up for this one. I knew what I kind of wanted to do. I wanted to get the arena. I wanted to get a lot of the sky. And, you know, had to be lucky. I sat on the other side firing the remote. Again, it was my first remote shot, got really lucky. And this was their first jump. And especially when they're doing their like prelims, you know, not their finals, they just get the qualifying mark and then they're done. They might just take one or two jumps and then they're done. So I think this is her second jump and then she was done. So very lucky to get that done.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, Alisha, this is a pretty cool shot of Valerie Adams.
So this one here, sun was setting, and I noticed, I was like, ooh, sun's setting just behind. So I exposed for the background, purposely blacking out the athlete. And I sat myself down, paying attention to warm-ups again on roughly where their arm goes. Do they glide or spin? So that's the other thing. So Dane Val glides. So it's a lot easier because they just stay there and hold that position. Whereas if you spin in this position, you're already facing the back.
Yeah.
As well. Like, you know, I picture of Tom Walsh who spins, and he would be facing the complete other way. So for this one here, I tried to line up where her hand goes to where the sun is. And I shot this on 2470. I'm real close in. I might be like 24 mil. And I had my 7D as well, just for the extra frame rate. And I just sat under, like at a safe point. I asked the officials, like, is it cool if I sit here? And like, yeah, sit with my feet, that's cool. And I just sat there to try to get it. And this might be her third or fourth throw. Just because she is, you know, they have so much power that even, you know, I would really probably need the 1DX for 13 frames a second, because trying to get the shot put right there, like all the other ones, it was either in her hand and then gone.
Yeah.
So she's that, you know, that powerful that it's too slow. And I cranked up my shutters, you know, making sure I could try to get it. But so I like this one, and I quite like. I had to make a call about the things in the bottom, you know, like the little heads, and I thought I'd cut them out, but I kept them in because it almost makes her look strong and like powerful, and really show, like, you know, how high it is, even though it's obviously like really low angle, just to see kind of, you know, how far she's chucking this thing.
All right, Jeff. This is Katerina Stefanidi, the Olympic champion in the pole vault. A little bit about this one.
Yeah, there you go. This was Zurich, I
Yes.
believe.
Yes.
This was the Zurich meet a few years
Oh,
ago.
the
And
train
what Zurich does, they have a pole vault, either men's or women's, and they have it in the Zurich train station. So, you know, in the center of downtown of Zurich, and the stadium is miles away. So they have this the day before, and they set up stands, and people are coming and going, and the travelers and this and that, and it's really cool. It was really cool. In this train station, they have these windows on the other side, and the sun showing through it, and they have some birds and this and that. And I just saw that. I thought it'd be pretty cool to go for a silhouette and have them. I saw the way the bar was and how they were coming off of it, and I tried to set up the shot, and it worked out. And right there is that Katarina going over?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's Katarina going over, and that is Sandy Morris. That's Sandy Morris applauding her in the foreground right there.
Oh.
Wow.
So I got, I purposely wanted that.
Yeah.
So I set it up, and it worked out, and the silhouette and beautiful, and the sun's going down, early evening, and it worked.
Yeah. Yeah. And you got the two birds in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Love the bird. Yeah.
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 That was a fun one.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Howard. It's this is one of our at our home stomping grounds, the Dempsey here in Seattle.
Yeah, so at the Dempsey meet, there's these lights that they use for timing, and they're really, really bright. But if you underexpose everything in camera and just use the light, you can create these really cool shots. So for this one, this is the men's DMR. This one looks like a little bit of a painting. It reminds me of a painting because everyone's lit just a little bit differently. They're coming through the line, a lot of contact. They say track's a non-contact sport, but clearly not because everyone's fighting to get out. But by underexposing it in camera, using what light you have, you can create something like this. It's one of my favorite shots. I like to play with the lights, especially at the Dempsey, because you get to create different images. You get to create something that you don't often see.
All right. Then Alisha, speaking of lights.
Yeah. So they in Doha before the final, they had this absolutely insane light show. And I remember the first time seeing it, it was like you got goosebumps. It was amazing. I loved it. And so I noticed when they spotlight each athlete, I really wanted to play with it a bit. So this was in Noah Lyle's 200-meter final.
Yes.
I was kind of some of what Jeff and Howard was saying, get something different. So I was at the start. So completely, I feel like I just shot, maybe was it men's pole vault final? Something.
Yeah, it looks like you're definitely on the infield because I see blocks are behind Noah.
I'm in the moat.
Oh.
So I'm just in the moat. I think one of the pole vault finals must have been the men's that was on. And so obviously I'm going to be there to get the excitement. Love pole vault. And so I came around and I noticed just how the spotlight was going on everyone. So I framed this shot exposing just similar to what Howard did, exposing just for the spotlight. And I knew he shouted, I kind of winged this because you think, okay, is he going to go the way his blocks are facing, or is he going to look at the finish line crowd? So I framed it thinking, I almost framed it so he was in the middle, knowing I was going to crop either way, because you can predict to a point. And then and I love this roar he did, and the spotlight's coming right on him, and something different. Made the background black as well, which was nice and clean. And
all right, now Howard, a little bit about this one.
So you know, going back to the Dempsey, this is again at the Dempsey, using the lights. You know, I want to create something even more different than using an underexposed light shot. So this one, I went with underexposed plus a pan in camera. Again, no photoshopping, to try to create something completely different. I am confident to say, I don't think anyone has done this before. They're running like I wanted a pan shot. I underexposed it so you can get the lights, and by dragging it, I can create this light trail, and you can see them in a running form. This one took about 200 attempts, I think, around, because for this one, I finished all my assignments. And so, you know, even though you're done with your assignments, there are things that you can still do. So I completely finished it. I delivered it to the clients. I was still there, and I had a, you know, a chunk of time. So I wanted to challenge myself to do something that no one has done before, which is a panning underexposed light shot. And this is what I got.
Hey, Howard, imagine back in the day when you had rolls of 36 exposures only.
Exactly, right? I mean, that one, I mean, I'm not made out of money, but this one.
But you had to like choose, you know, your images. Now with the digital, it's a whole different creative process. You can play a lot and experiment a lot more.
Exactly, yeah. So this one was, usually I pan around 130 or 1/30 or 1/40, somewhere around that frame rate. This one was half a second, straight up half a second, like a click, click. So this one was really long, one of the longer exposures that I've done, but I'm really happy it worked out. Really happy the 200 attempts worked out. And this was also over 2 days. It was a 2-day meet. So I did about 50 attempts the first day. I had it, but then it wasn't perfect. And so therefore I wanted to try again. So this is on day 2. Also, I, again, want to shoot something that looks different and it's printable, like art. You know, this is different. This is art.
Right. All right. You know, speaking of panning, Alisha, this is another one from Doha.
Yeah, so this is in the qualifier, and this is not the qualifying bar. So kind of like, you know, your opening heights is when you can play with this. I like to call this, it's like a swing to invert pan. So you have to, like, you can kind of see the pan's a bit curved. So I time it from when the athlete takes off, kind of time their swing like that. It's also I don't even know how many times I've tried. I've done it at home as well. So it's not the first time I've done this. Back at home, shooting my friends, training buddies, I've tried this as well. And it takes a lot of shots. Even if you know, like, I don't know Ninon vaulting. I can only see her like on TV or in person at World Championships. So it's like you are really just kind of like trying to like time their swing. The athlete will tap and then go. I quite like this because you can get a sense of like that movement, and it's different. Stuff, and you can see in the background my really bad attempt to hide the empty stands. And stuff. And I was just lucky that, because sometimes when I do this, I get like the shoe is sharp or the pole is sharp, but this one is the only time when her face was sharp. That was Luke.
All right. Hey there, Jeff. I mean, this is pretty cool because you got the whole range of colors involved here.
So this was on the final day of, I think this was London.
It looked
This is London. Is that Meyer? So that's the new decathlon champion, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I've never, you know, I never really did a great pan of javelin, and this was a super challenge for me because you can't see it in the picture, but there's a hammer cage, there's bars, there's people, there's boxes, there's benches, there's all these colors and lights, and there's only a little window there where I can see him without anything blocking. I panned a bunch of shots and for waiting for the athlete to come right in that little 5-foot window. And this turned out, it was a gamble. I was just trying for it. One of those times where it was the only thing going on at the time. And I was just trying to be something different. Didn't know what I was going to get and try something new. And came out. I love it.
Yeah. And then Howard, this is Allison at the London World Championships.
Yeah, Jeff, you and I were following Usain Bolt's victory lap around at the same time. This is after the 4x4. There was another victory lap. So we were running around the side of the stadium in London, and then a national anthem was playing. So everybody paused and stopped, and I saw Allison there looking up, so I wanted a nice portrait shot of her. This was shot with a 400 prime, so I shot it from the hip. I couldn't really look at it because it was so tight. So I shot this with a 400 prime. I think Jeff was like right over here and yonder.
I remember.
Yeah, to my left, getting something different because there were so many goes on. There's so many athletes. I think Bull was right behind us. But this shot again, having a prime lens really kind of blows out the background.
Yeah.
It looks kind of like a studio shot sometimes when I look at it, but it's really clean. It looks, if you look in her eyes, it looks like there's like soft boxes or something. It's not, so it's one of those, it looks like a studio shot. It's not. There's a lot of stuff in the background, but due to the prime lens, you can, blur that out.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite shots.
Yeah.
I remember that. I remember.
You remember that? Yeah.
They were coming around, and the national anthem came. And they stopped, and you were there. You were behind me. You had a bigger lens, and I had this wide angle. And I remember talking to Allison for a minute when she was there, and she was with her four other teammates too.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Now, Alicia, this is speaking of Allison, this is the final of the women's 400 that Phyllis Francis won. Alicia, this is your shot. The thing I like is that you see the pyros going off just as they cross the line.
Yeah, that was kind of something. I had a 300, so I'm on the bend, about maybe 50 meters around the bend, because I know, like, kind of similar to what we've talked about. I like getting the celebration shots from running around. Yeah. This is a really cool angle of seeing the whole finish. I'm on a 300, so I can see everything. And I knew this race was going to be exciting. Like, really tight. And I just happened, and it was such like it was raining as well, typical London. Yeah. So it was raining as well. And I was just really lucky that, I've got shout out to the guys blowing those fire, the pyro guys, perfect timing as well. And then the actual raindrops is also illuminated slightly as well. And I don't know, it's just a sense of drama in this photo to see how, I think, how close the whole race was and the story behind it. So yeah.
All right. Now, it's like, this is a shot that I took of Jeff in Doha. And, this is, I'm setting you up, Jeff. You talk about your relationships with the athletes in these next couple of photos. I'll talk to me about these next two photos. The first one is you see here is about David Oliver
and Kendricks before.
Yep.
Here, go back to Kendricks for a minute.
Okay, yeah, I can do that.
So yeah, Paul, I'm thank you for taking this picture.
Yeah.
This is another moment that stays with me, that I remember, that means something to me in my shooting track. World Championships Doha, pole vault final. There's probably 4 or 5 guys left in it. You see Lavillani on the board. There's Mondo, there's Sam, and I think Piotr, I think.
Yeah.
And I'm out there on the field, and I'm different angle. There's, I'm not by the bag. I'm out in the grass by where they take off from, and I'm sitting there. I have my knee pad, and I'm sitting there, and I don't really interact with the athletes, but if they come over to me, I'll say something, and I kind of stay low key. So I'm sitting there, and Sam Kendricks, world champion, comes over and sits down with me for a second, starts talking to me. He's like, and he says, "Well, what do you think, Jeff?" He's all, "Yeah." I said, and he starts telling me about how, yeah, see how, I forget who it was, but so and so, he's taking off and he's bending a little bit to the left, and and we just start, talking and hanging out for a minute, for about 3-4 minutes. He sits down with me for a second, and then he goes back out and he jumps and he wins. So, it's such a special, for me being a fan and just being close to it. And I feel part of the family, and they accept me, I accept them. It's a great moment for me. And I live for that kind of stuff, and it's really cool. They respect me. I had another moment with Sam back in, in Zurich in the welt class in the Diamond League final, and he was going for his last jump, and I was out by his takeoff trying to get an angle of him going over the bar, and I was sitting out there by myself on the grass, and he was nervous. He had one jump to go. Either he was going to win the Diamond League or he was going to lose. Yeah. And he walks over to me. The whole crowd's going nuts. He says, "Hey, Jeff, man, I'm a little nervous, man. What do you got to say?" And I'm like, "Help me out." He said, "Help me out, Jeff." And I'm like, I said, something still, like, feel the energy, or you got this. It's all you, man. You got it. And so, it means something to me. So it's special moments for me. Yeah. So now we go to these next two shots. These are behind the scenes in Beijing. David Oliver, world champion. Yeah. I believe so. David Oliver, 110-meter hurdles. Yep. This is in the tunnel in Beijing World Championships before the final of the 110-meter hurdles. Again, I snuck back there. I probably wasn't supposed to be back there. I went back there and was very quiet and didn't get anybody's way. And I knew that this is where they held the athletes right before they walk in the stadium. You can see the light off of his shoulder, the stadium. Now he sat down in the chair and waited a minute, and this was gathering some thoughts before he walked down the stage to go for, the finals. Now, if you pull back on this photo, you can see the Chinese usher, which is like a young boy, and he's kind of looking down at David Oliver. So it really makes the image, is the expression of the usher looking down on him. Yeah. But that was a special moment for me as well. Yeah. And then I like this shot about Colleen Quigley. That was very similar. That's the tunnel, and this is her coming out for the steeplechase final in Beijing, the Bird's Nest. And as the light hits her from the stadium, she's looking out onto the track as she's about to walk out, and in her race mode, right, for the final of the World Championships. Yeah. All right. So now you guys shoot other sports, and we're just going to run through these very quickly. Alisha, this is, you've gotten a little bit into cycling.
Yeah, so this is actually a commercial gig for the Training Peaks. They contacted me, based in the States as well, and they contacted me to shoot a bunch of images for their promotion of their app and stuff. So more like an image bank type vibe, looks natural, looks like she's racing in the gear. So this is one of their Training Peaks athletes. It's kind of stuff I do a lot. So like marketing material like that. But that was a freezing day. And okay, Auckland is, the forecast will say one thing, and that might be applicable for 1 hour. So you're planning shoots, and we just missed the storm. It was freezing. We got in the car after we did a few runs of her on her bike, and then it just bang. Right. All right. And so then now, speaking of cold and rain, Howard, got a little Major League Soccer.
Yeah, go Timbers. This is done with a 300. It's cold, it's rainy, and I love it. I love shooting in the elements. The harder the rain, the better. More snow, flash floods, I don't care. I mean, it really adds to the image. So this was done in my hometown, Portland Timbers versus DC United, for, I think, yeah, it was just nice, clean images. Because
Yeah.
the 300 is just nice and clean. I like it.
Yeah, yeah. And then Jeff, yeah, so yeah, a little bit about this photo.
So this is a heavyweight bout, Pulev out of Bulgaria. And I, like Howard was saying earlier, always be nice to people, always be cool, respectful.
Uh-huh.
One of my good friends happens to be the head photographer for Top Rank Boxing, which is the promoter for all these fights. And needed some help, and I like to do it, and I'm always there for him. And shooting some boxing and seen some of my work on ESPN and Top Rank and this and that. There you have it. What's funny about this guy is that one of my favorite stuff. I mean, the ringside is cool too. You get blood and the sweat all over you, and you have to keep wiping off your lens and this and that. But that's kind of fun. Keep your mouth closed. But I like in the dressing rooms beforehand in the tunnel. Really interesting for me. I was never really a boxing fan. I don't know anything about it, but I just like the human experience in the sport. And it's funny because this guy, Pulev from Bulgaria, and I told him a little bit about my track, and they said, "Oh, Yvette Lalova," and you go, "Oh yes, very beautiful. Oh yes."
Uh-huh.
Or the Bulgarian, the Olympian 200-meter sprinter. So that was kind of a nice connection that I have from track and field.
Yeah, yeah. All right. And then, it's just, let's get some final thoughts here. Alisha,
Hey.
final thoughts.
Honestly, I look at these and I am so grateful for my federation for spotting them. Like, it's just like the stuff, like you go to these things and they are just so fun. It's like they're hard work. Like we're barely sleeping, but everyone's barely sleeping. So we're all in this mood and we're all like, let's make it fun. And it's honestly amazing. So yeah, massive shout out to my federation for believing in me.
Yeah. Howard, final thoughts?
Final thoughts. Can't wait for 2021. Can't wait to come back and see everybody who's not only on this call but who's watching this interview. Can't wait to see everybody back on the track shooting. I know it's going to be great. It's a big year, but I'm looking forward to it. I think that's me, you, and Jeff in London, and then Alisha, Paul, and I in London here. So I'm very thankful to have met all of you through track and field at all these big events. So it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, Jeff.
Absolutely. I'd love to thank all the people that allowed me to do this. The USA Track and Field and IAAF, World Athletics, all the meet directors, the athletes, all the people I've met. It's incredible. So thank you. And it's a gift for me. So I can't wait to be out there and share with everybody more. So.
Right. Absolutely. Now, once again, thank you guys, for those of you who are still watching, I know we ran a little long here, but there's a lot of good stuff. You can find these folks on Instagram. Jeff can be found at Jeff Cohen Photo. Alisha can be found at Alisha Lovrich, and Howard can be found at Howlau Photography. And before we sign off, I just want to say that if don't forget to comment by clicking on the envelope at the end of this post or by leaving a comment on our YouTube page. And once again, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Have a good day.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Yep. And let's see. And by the so by the way, there should be
Recording.
You're still recording.
Oh.
Oh!